Welcome back to Florida Realtors Live at the Midwinter Meetings. I'm your host, Tracy Velt. I'm the editor of Florida Realtor Magazine, and I also host Housing Wire's Real Trending podcast for real estate leaders. Thanks so much for joining us. We have today Neal Oates Jr. He is a real estate broker with world-renowned real estate. He's been in the business for about 12 years, well, been a broker for 12 years, in the business longer, and he runs a teamerage, and we're going to talk about what you could be doing as a broker to serve your agents better. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Trace. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. So we had a great conversation. There's a lot of noise in the industry right now. You said brokers need to kind of get in tune with agents, that it's maybe a different world. And tell me some of the things, like what does that really mean? And where do you see the disconnect?
So number one, when we talk about brokers getting in tune with today's agents, the first thing is that many of our brokers, they were agents before.
Yeah.
And it was before things have changed in the industry. And this is where you and I were having the conversation. But the brokers today, they have to understand that today's agent is a different agent. Maybe not in the goals and aspirations, right, but maybe in the challenges that they're facing, or the noise. You talk about there's a lot of noise. So that's going to be the biggest thing. The second thing I would say about how the brokers can get more in tune is asking the questions that agents are asking themselves today. So the conversation is different that an agent has with a broker, but also the conversation that an agent has with him or herself is different. They're asking, well, can I do this and something else, right? Can I do this maybe part-time? Can I break in? Can I get the training from the brokerage? Is the brokerage willing and ready to give me what I need to succeed? And in terms of the biggest challenge in brokerages being relevant right now and connecting with agents is going to be, are they willing to adapt?
Yeah.
And that's a huge one. So we know that in the industry on a day-to-day, the agents are forced to adapt. You never get the same buyer or seller twice, even if they're repeat customers or buyers. But the question is, as a broker, are you willing to adapt to meet the agent in a noisy space where we have voices on social media, where we have litigation, noise coming at us, and saying, okay, well, I can't just focus on prospect. I also need to make sure that I'm being compliant. Yeah. And I think a lot of that will go into brokerages being able to be relevant and to really meet the agents where they are today.
Yeah, they have to know a lot more. There have been so many changes, to practice changes that have happened in the past year, 2 years. And brokers obviously need to know that, but they need to be able to communicate those to their agents as well, so the agents have more on their plate. There's also a lot of opportunities out there for brokers in recruiting agents, despite what they may think. I know margins are slim, and recruiting is what it's all about. The fundamentals have never changed in brokerage. So you described agents as kind of being overwhelmed with visions of success, but realities of lack. So describe that. How can brokers bridge that mentality and help them through?
So the first thing I want to clarify is what I mean when I say visions of success and realities of lack.
Yeah.
When we get in the industry as an agent, we've seen the TV shows, we've seen the IG and the Facebook posts where we want to be super successful.
Right.
And the idea is I came into this thing so that I could be amazing. Yeah. And that's the vision. But then the reality might be different, especially in that first 3 months, first 6 months in the industry. And so what we find is that many times the reality looks, feels, tastes different than the vision. And we aren't, as an agent, we aren't getting what we think we need or what we really need from our leaders, right? And so what I have found the way for brokerages to bridge that gap from the vision of success and a reality of lack is show what success really looks like in the industry, because what we see on IG, Facebook, on social, or even what we hear from our friends, cousins, niece who has their license for 3 days and has done multi-million, is different from a broker, a leader, and they can come in and say, yes, it's possible, but let me show you what real success looks like. Could that dream be a reality? Yes, but it might not happen in 30 days. It might take you 18 months for this to happen, so let's give you a roadmap. Let me give you a plan, a checklist. First, let's start with the basics. So the times have changed, but many of the proven things that work, they haven't. Maybe the way we deliver it, the medium has changed.
Yeah.
But in terms of the foundational principle of prospecting, negotiating, communication, relationships has not changed. So I think that we need to change the vision of success from being a multi-million-dollar producer to being, I am consistent, I am relatable, I am someone that the client customer can trust.
Yeah.
And so if a broker can bridge that gap, I think it's a huge benefit to the agents in their offices and that are in their environments.
Yeah, and I think it's easier to do with a smaller brokerage or a teamerage than it would be with a very large brokerage, although I think it's really about the managers at that point stepping in and helping to create the culture and build the culture as well. So you mentioned kind of antiquated beliefs and systems. They're still driving many brokerages. What are some examples of those outdated practices, and what can they replace those with?
So when I talk about antiquated beliefs and practices in brokerages first, it is not an attack on the brokerages. A lot of times it's more of reality. Like, are we willing to deal with the truth of what we're facing if we want to improve? And so that's going to be the first question. But what we really are seeing right now is the value add. Right, what is the value of the brokerage? Maybe it is not that we have desk space. Maybe it's not that we have a sign or this big building. Right now, as wild as it is, it might not even be your technology that you have, that you were touting early 2000s. Right? So your benefit, your value, you have to ask the question, as a brokerage, are we up to date in communicating and speaking to our desired customer, client, our audience the way they understand? So for one, meetings, right? Is the meeting, what's the purpose of the meeting? Is the purpose of our brokerage meeting, office meeting, is it to just share announcements? Or is it to train, coach, help prepare for what you're going to see in the marketplace?
Right.
And so one of the things I know that I was spoiled early, I'm going to say blessed, I won't say spoiled, early in my career to have a broker and mentors who took the time and made the decision early that as a brokerage, they were going to invest in coaching for their agents.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, this is where the big real estate coaching industry came about, where the brokerages are saying, well, we don't want to invest, we don't want to have that spend. It's going to be the agent's responsibility. So I still see that as an antiquated practice, saying, well, we're going to bring you in the office, we're going to give you our new listings, the needs, wants type deal, tell you how to stay compliant, but not really invest in your growth and your development by having coaches or trainers come in that the brokerage is going to cover, and not just on forms and things that we're going to talk about maybe with the association, but things that are new, that are happening today at the speed of now. And so that's going to be the biggest one, just the way offices are ran, how we communicate with our agents, and then what we expect from our agents. And Tracy, the last one that I'll say is, for instance, onboarding. What does your onboarding process look like? Are you expecting your agents to come in where you have to go through orientation? Is it a one-size-fits-all for a first-time agent or a multi-million-dollar producer, top producer that's come over to your brokerage?
Right.
Are you asking million-dollar producer and zero producer to sit through the same stuff? Is it on demand? Like what we're doing right now, our brokerages leveraging YouTube and Facebook Live and things like that. And so I think that if brokerages will say, well, we need to catch up with what our agents are doing day to day now, I think they move ahead of those who refuse to change and adapt.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the broker too. Brokers have different value, offer different value. That's why there's so many different models and compensation plans and everything, because agents aren't all looking for the same thing.
Correct.
So I think that's a really important point. So Florida Realtors is trying to respond faster to broker needs, especially during times of fear or uncertainty. What kinds of rapid response tools or training or support does the association offer that you see as most essential right now?
So first, the one thing I would say about Florida Realtors and the rapid response is that, especially with the practice changes that happened in 2024, I believe that Florida Realtors was pivotal in the way that they responded. They were giving everything as soon as NAR, even before NAR sometimes came out with some information, Florida Realtors was right there front line. But more important than the tools they're rolling out is going to be the method and the timeliness in which they're communicating.
Right.
So even before Florida Realtors has all the answers, they are a calming voice. And sometimes as a broker, I just need to know that I'm not by myself,
Yeah.
that I have this mega organization behind me telling me that it's going to be okay. But what we're doing right now, right, we're Florida Realtors Live here at midwinter.
Yep.
This is not a normal thing for
Right.
other associations that might be bigger than us, but not better than us.
Yeah.
And so this shows the commitment from leadership and the Florida Realtors team and organization that says we're going to make sure that brokers are prepared, where you're not going to have to come and sit in a 2-hour class. We're going to bring you 15-minute, 20-minute, bite-sized segments. I still love to take 5.
Yeah.
Right? We're bringing this to you as a broker, and then we're going to help you empower your agents. And I think that if you do that, so that's going to be one of the biggest ones. But then after that, the timeliness in which we are rolling out new things like Sable Sign,
Yep.
right? The technology that Florida Realtors is bringing, so that the small brokerages, so that the teamerages, that we
Yeah.
can compete on a large scale, because now I, as a broker, don't have to try to figure that out.
Yeah, absolutely. So in closing, we talked about the need for training. It's not necessarily a certification or a designation, but it's relevant to the moment. So what type of training or development do you believe make the biggest impact on brokers and agents?
So going back to training and what's making the biggest impact for brokers, agents, even the consumer base, I really think it goes back to the fundamentals, right? Can you have a conversation? Can you build relationship? Do you know what a good buyer consultation or marketing consultation is? Do you know how to negotiate? Do you know how to interact with a buyer or seller who's heard a lot and doesn't know what to listen to? So I think if we can get, as brokers, can get back to that space and not focus on so much of the scare or the fear that we're dealing with, because we're hearing it come from national sources, and get back to the agent. How do I qualify a buyer? What conversations do I have with their lender? Or how do I respond to a bad home inspection? I think those are the type of things that we as agents need from our brokers.
Yeah. When do I give them a buyer representation form?
That's a great one right there. Hey, that's the one that hopefully all of us are having conversations with now.
Absolutely. Any last thoughts?
So first, thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you to Florida Realtors. But most importantly, for my brokers who are listening or watching this, be encouraged. Florida Realtors is here. There are opportunities in this market. We don't have to be afraid. And if we are willing to change and adapt and maybe get back to those foundational sound principles that have worked, and if we remember that we got into this to make a difference in the lives of the consumers, but our agents as well. And if we're led by that memory and that belief and that why, I think we'll be okay.
Great. Thanks, Neal. I appreciate all of your insight. And for those of you watching, stay tuned. We have Chuck Bonfiglio Jr. He is the 2026 Florida Realtors President. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to Florida Realtors live stream. I'm your host, Tracy Velt, a contributing editor with Florida Realtor Magazine and host of Housing Wire's Real Trending podcast, where I interview real estate leaders about their secrets to success. Right now, I have the pleasure of speaking with Chuck Bonfiglio Jr. He is the 2026 Florida Realtors president. So thanks for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely, Tracy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we had a great conversation about, I don't know, a couple months ago, just talking about your presidency and what you have in store. And you talked about that you see a silver lining in the industry and that this is a very opportunistic time for real estate agents, brokers. So talk to me about what that moment of clarity means to you as you step into the presidency.
Yeah, absolutely. So the silver lining that I saw, I mean, I'm optimist, by nature. So I always try to see the positive in something. And obviously our industry will always have hurdles, right? So whether it's interest rates, mortgage, taxes, whatever it is. But I considered the silver lining in what we just went through, the attention and the eyes and, because everything we do, marketing, media, and things like that, the intent is to reach our members and reach our consumers that we serve. So, there's different ways to get there, right? But that's where we were. So that's the silver lining that I considered is now it's an opportunity for us to reconnect with some of our members or consumers and be the voice of real estate so that we can give them, what it is we exactly do and how we can help them secure the most important and sometimes largest investment of their life.
Yeah, and
family.
Florida Realtors is amazingly innovative in the products and services that they offer. And you designed your theme to be your voice, your business, your Florida.
Yeah.
So what was the inspiration behind that message and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so we are a 5-man leadership team that's elected, and we heard for a long time that people felt like the team was unapproachable and things like that. So, the messaging that we always say is we want to be accessible and accountable to them, and that has to be reinforced with the messaging that we give. So you mentioned district conferences and things like that, and we're constantly reinforcing that message, to them. So as in marketing, we want to make sure that our marketing matches what we're saying. So that was kind of the reason, and honestly, as past leadership teams have always talked about business, and quite honestly, the voice of real estate has been in there for a very long time. I just feel like now is the time to recapture that or reclaim it and give a lot of emphasis, to that for our members.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for members to understand the value that they get from the association. And, I think that this leadership team has done an incredible job of getting that message out. And you kind of talked about Florida Realtors as a business organization. It's not it's association, but it's a business organization first and foremost. So in practical terms, what does that mean as you plan to serve members this year?
Yeah, so I mean, every conversation that we have is how is it going to impact the members' business, right? So the members pay us for a value that they want to grow their business. I mean, that's the idea of what we're doing. So everything that we do, whether it's these conventions, whether it's this podcast, whether it's marketing, is to help grow their business. And honestly, part of the voice for real estate isn't just the media side of it. It's the social media. It's the resources that we have we need to share with our members in order to hopefully attract some new business for them. Because we've seen the numbers internally where unfortunately a lot of our members aren't doing a lot of business, so we want to change that.
Yeah.
And that starts and stops, with their business and what they need. So our vision is if we extend the voice of real estate, not just to our team, but to the members, and be the actual voice and the accurate voice, then when we share things and we empower them, then that in turn is going to get a consumer or a client in their area to call them and say, hey, did insurance rates really go down? Hey, what's going on with the taxes, right? So that's the whole kind of like intent of everything that we're doing. It's not just, high level of here's the rates. Here's the rates and here's why and here's how it impacts your buyers. And, hopefully if you share it, you'll get some business from it.
Yeah, why don't we talk about some of the products and services that do that and allow, the officers to really get out that message as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I mean, I can't be I can't be prouder of the staff that we have and the alignment and the collaboration that we have with the leadership team and the staff, because as we've talked about, it starts in the grassroots, it starts from the members that sometimes don't attend. So any information that we have, we bring forward, and it's like, hey, if Tracy's, if there's a need in Tracy's market, let's try to serve that. Sun Stats is a huge one for our research, because you have to know the numbers, right? And again, it's about being the voice, and if you don't have the numbers, it's kind of hard to be the voice. And so on. It's, Forum Simplicity, the Innovation Fund, we're really proud of that. So that's going to leverage, not only our voice, but the ability to impact all our members' businesses in the near future and then beyond.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you talked about reclaiming Florida Realtors' voice and making it unified and impossible to ignore. So what does that look like, and why is now the time that's really, really important?
Yeah, I think it's, pretty much what I said earlier, kind of the silver lining is we have tried in many different areas to reach as many members as we can.
Yeah.
As most know, we're the largest state in the country as far as membership numbers, but we also want to make sure that our members have the ability to protect their business and earn more business and be the actual voice. So we leverage all these things together and make sure that the marketing hits what is needed and what the anticipated need is, because it's not just now, right? Like we're talking, what do our members need in a year from now, 5 years from now?
Right.
So I'm really proud of the work that we're doing, that we're moving in that direction.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you've got a powerhouse leadership team this year, and each has a unique pillar. That's part of the strategy. So how do you see your role in bringing these priorities together as a unified strategy? And why don't you describe the pillars as well?
Yeah, so for many years, I've always sat back and kind of watched and listened more than I spoke, and formulated a plan, and then shared as much as I could with the team and vice versa, right? And the pillars were meant to be an extension of what we're already doing, because sometimes it's very difficult with the membership side and the staff side to say, hey, president or leadership team, what do you want your theme or your pillars to be? And then it's all hands on deck for, let's call it a short amount of time. I'm already on the clock, right? But a short amount of time, and everyone does a great job, but I just didn't feel like it was as effective as it should be. Like, we have all the information, we have all the value, we have all the power there. Let's just build on it and just do a little more. So it's, it's just moving at a few degrees each way, and then hopefully the team subscribes to it in the future and they carry that on. So that's kind of where, honestly, the pillars came from. It's stuff that we already do. It's stuff that, like I said, themes can come and go, but the core value, the core pillars of this organization should be what we're showing.
Yeah, and that is, I have innovation, leadership with purpose, advocacy, and generational wealth.
Yeah. Generational wealth actually is kind of a new one. It's something that I brought to the team, and I think it's valuable because Florida Realtors, they do such a great job with their clients, and unfortunately, they don't take it to the next step of maybe investing in properties themselves and growing generational wealth. For not only when they retire, it's very rare that realtors retire, we just work forever. And then more importantly, the family, part of it. So, they see us grinding every day. It's definitely not a 9 to 5, right? So they see us grinding every day, and we want to make sure that we build them up for success, and more importantly, their families.
Great.
So that was a little add-on. But the rest of the stuff, innovation, that's a no-brainer, right? Advocacy, if for nothing else, we're an advocacy organization. Family is one. All these things, again, are things that we embody and we speak about publicly and privately. So we just wanted to bring it more to the forefront and build on that.
Great. All right. My final question is just, where do you see the most opportunity right now?
I think it's just building on what we've been doing for the last few years, which is empowering the membership, empowering staff, not only just our staff, but throughout the boards. We have 50 boards throughout the state, so everyone is unique, and obviously we're independent contractors, so everyone's unique in that regard as well. And we just want to, we just want to empower them more. We want to give them more tools in their tool belt to be a resource, through the state, because, we're only 5. So it's hard for just us. And they've been gracious enough to trust us, listen to us, and then, deploy what we're, the resources that we give to them.
Well, great. Well, I wish you much success
Yes,
this year.
thank you.
Thanks so much
Yeah.
for joining Florida Realtors Live. And for those of you watching, stay tuned. We have a couple of back-to-back sessions, one with Hollie Billero Buldo. She is talking about building your business in the wild. So stay tuned.
Oh, all right, nice.
Welcome back to Florida Realtors live stream at the Midwinter Meetings. I'm your host, Tracy Velt. I'm the contributing editor of Florida Realtor Magazine and also the host of the Real Trending podcast by Housing Wire. So welcome back. And I have Hollie Billero Buldo with us today, and she is going to talk about building your business in the wild.
I love that theme. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. So you said your business comes entirely organic relationships, the gym, habitat builds, everyday conversations. So what does organic actually look like in your day-to-day life as an agent?
Okay. So organic to me is meeting people where they're at. So it's genuine, approachable, authentic conversations. Since I was a little girl, my parents would bring me to the habitat site. I was probably child labor laws would not allow that today. But I was hitting a hammer and I was swinging it and the nail was bending. So I saw an older gentleman. So I went up to him and I said, "How are you hitting this nail?" And he's like, "You have to do it delicately." So I formed a relationship with him. 20 years later, he called me and he said, "I have a brother. He has this huge trailer park. He wants to sell it." And so I helped him sell it. And it was just simply by approaching him and saying, "How do you hit a nail properly?" And it was the weirdest sale I've ever had. So a couple months ago, I sold my Pilates studio owner her home. And that was a relationship that I built naturally over the past 6 years. We never spoke about real estate.
Yeah.
But when it came time, she trusted me. I trusted her business. I used her business. And I was so grateful that she used my services.
Yeah, so, I think that agents feel a lot of pressure with that. Like they have to door knock, or I have to go up to people at the grocery store, or I have to cold call. And they feel that pressure, so they're like, "Well, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to do that."
Yeah.
But you don't really do any of that.
No.
And so how do you stay confident in that relationship-based approach, and how do you do it in practice? Like, what is it, other than, talking to someone about something else, how do they eventually get to the fact that you're in real estate?
So I am the least salesy person. I mean, completely. When we moved from New Jersey when I was a little girl, we moved here. My dad opened a real estate company. He knew nobody. So he said, "I want you guys to take out my business cards and go door knocking and meet people. And if they sell a house, I'll give you $100. So we were hooked. That was all we had to hear. So I went through the neighborhood and I was door knocking and I knocked on this lady's house and I said, "If you need a realtor, call my dad." And she said, "I am a realtor." And I said, "Well, if you want a good one, call my dad." So that's a true story. And I think I just always bring humor and just natural. Nothing. I don't like tight. I'm not a fan of those posts that people put out, like Happy Thanksgiving posts.
Yeah.
That's not my kind of thing. This Thanksgiving, I put out a post on Instagram, and it was what I was thankful for in the community. So it was very specific. The plum duck at Mai Tai, the coffee syrups at Tribe Coffee. And people just gravitated towards that. They just appreciated that it was authentic, and it was building the community up. And also, they know that my experiences, well, I know.
And so you have to be out in the community a lot
yes.
to do that. So tell me some of the places that you're getting the most referrals from now.
So definitely the gym.
Okay.
And then I volunteer on the Habitat site almost weekly. And when we're at the gym, I don't ever speak about real estate. Never. It's just I'll bring somebody a weight and I say, "I think you can lift heavier." And I build a friendship, and then naturally it just happens. They know I'm in real estate because I do kind of throw some slices of things out there into the world, but I don't make it who I am totally.
Yeah.
I try to be myself.
Well, I think that's the most effective way, too, because people don't feel like they're being sold to, but then they think of you. And so how do you stay top of mind? I know you do a lot of personal content on Instagram and you're on social media. What are some tips that you have for agents to have these authentic conversations and then also stay top of mind to be their realtor?
So tying it back into the community, I'll do something where I'll buy chicken pot pies and I put like little house cutters so the whole top of the pie is with houses.
Yeah.
And I'll just randomly pick 10 people on my Instagram and I'll go personally deliver them to just random people that wouldn't normally, connect with me. And then we build, I don't know why, but it works. It's me thinking of somebody that I wouldn't normally think of, and then they think of me in return.
Do you do that frequently? Do you have like a schedule of things that you do? And tell me a little bit about those.
So it's not really a schedule. I'm very random. I think that makes it a little bit more genuine. But it's always little things like that, and it's always tying it back to the community.
Okay.
Because the community, we all thrive together.
So give me some examples. I know people listening, agents listening will be like, okay, I want to know, what is she doing?
Yes.
Like, okay, pot pies, that's one
Yes,
thing.
that's one thing.
What are
So-
some other things?
So I'll do like 5 passes to a Pilates class, and I'll say,
Okay.
I go to this gym, I love this gym, I want you to try it, so I'm willing to give you these passes. And I'll just pick 5 random people. The chicken pot pies, I'll do ice cream cones, just totally random stuff that's
Yeah.
just off the wall, but somehow it clicks.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So for agents that are struggling with to spark those authentic conversations, what are some simple ways they can start? Like things they can say, how they can start?
So I think that you have to look inward. What are things that you like? So are you a car enthusiast? Go to car shows. It's easier to ask somebody, what kind of car is that, than can I list your house?
Yeah.
And then when I post things too, I post everything from going to get coffee, my outfits of the day. People are easier to say, where did you get those sneakers, than what's the difference between a FHA and a conventional loan? So it's just gradually building, where I want to go.
I'm going to be looking for your outfits of the
Okay.
day, so because I love this outfit.
Thank
so.
you.
And so, how has your community involvement helped you build trust in business without directly asking for it?
Okay. So I love posting new businesses in town. So I seek out when is a grand opening. Last week there was a new antique shop that opened. I was the first person in line when they opened, so I could get in there, get my content and post it.
Yeah.
And it went on. People shared it all over the place, and they said, "Thank you for sharing this." So I think the community business owners appreciate that,
Yeah.
as well as the community. And I build that trust. I know where to send you if you need a new purse or that kind of stuff, a
Yeah.
swimsuit, anything like that.
Yeah, that is interesting. I love those types of posts too, where they do a walkthrough of a new restaurant.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be a review of it. It's just letting you know that it's there.
Yes, and also when you go out of town, I seek posts like that because I want to know where to
Right.
go when I'm out of town. So it brings in out of town buyers too.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you navigate authenticity in an industry that often pushes scripts and kind of aggressive outreach?
Okay, so when you go into a shoe store and somebody follows you around, I hate that. That's like my #1 pet peeve.
Yes.
So I always think I want to be treated how I treat people how I would want to be treated. So I'm not pushy like that. I ask them in the beginning, how do you like to communicate? And then I try to meet them where they are.
Okay. And if someone asks you that, like, I don't know, if someone asks me, how do you like to communicate? I don't know that I know the answer. Like text, is that what they're saying?
Well,
Or,
do you want texting? Do you want weekly texting? Do you want an update every Monday? Do you want emails? Should I call you? Because you might like the totally opposite of what I like. So I want to meet you where you are.
yeah. And so how do you get into, how do you understand what they value most so that when you're building this relationship, that's the thing that might get them?
Yeah. I think kindness always wins. I try to be a good person. And if I can go to sleep at night knowing that I'm a good person, I know that that's going to translate to whoever I'm working with. So I think kindness always leads the day.
Okay. And finally, how does having a Florida Realtors board certified endorsement align with who you are and support the way you do business?
Okay. So I think that the board certified helps me internally.
Uh-huh.
I know that I had to do certain things to get that certification that I'm really proud of. Endorsements, a certain number of transactions. I need to know how to actually write a contract. So I think it helps me internally the way I act externally. So I'm so proud to have that endorsement. I think everyone should have that endorsement. And I think that it will enhance your business just because it's going to give you that oomph to know that you're doing a good job.
Yeah. And I just want to end and tell the audience, maybe give 3 tips for really building authentic relationships that eventually may turn into business.
Okay. I have to think about that. I think the
Okay.
biggest thing is just to be you. I really think, I used to think putting these videos out there was so cringy.
Yeah.
But I had to just get over it. So just get over your fear and just be you. And just think outside the box. What do you like? What can you give to people that if you like it so much, why do you think they might like it too? Just you have
Yeah.
to show them that. 3, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I have to think. What's another thing?
Maybe something you do that really
Something I
resonates.
do is I don't look at other real estate posts. I go on and I look at ice cream. I love ice cream. So I go to all these different ice cream companies and I scroll all their posts and I see what makes me stop scrolling.
Okay.
And then I try to implement that into the way that I post things.
I think that's a great
Yeah.
tip. Well, Hollie, thanks so much for
Thank you.
joining Florida Realtors Live.
Thank you for having
And
me.
for those of you on right now, we are going to talk to Carlos Meléndez. He's going to do all things tech and AI. So hang on and watch soon. Welcome back to Florida Realtors live stream. I'm your host, Tracy Velt, an editor with Florida Realtor Magazine and also host of Housing Wire's Real Trending podcast. Right now, I have the Carlos Meléndez on the stage with me. He's with the Meléndez Group with Kais, and he's going to talk all things AI. Welcome.
Hey, Tracy, how are you?
I'm doing great.
So nice to see you again. I know last time we had a good time during the annual convention and even got a little relaxation after a very long week. So
right.
It's so nice to see you again after the holidays.
That's right. So you've always been on the cutting edge of tech. We've talked about lots of different things that you've done, but I wanted just an overall view of what you're doing with AI right now.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, no, I mean, definitely a self-proclaimed tech nerd for sure. And AI has definitely intertwined itself in our business at the Meléndez Group, powered by Kais. We've been doing a lot of incorporation of how we use AI to not just, more or less to better ourselves and just be more efficient, right? A lot of people, they let AI kind of consume them, and that's not our role or our task. We like to use AI as a tool to make us more efficient and really just to protect our time, not to replace our role, because quite frankly, as you know, realtors are the center of the transaction, and human contact and interaction is very, very important. But being able to use it in ways to make ourselves more efficient, like being able to follow up with emails, making sure that we're, creating follow-ups for ourselves without having to spend the time of spending hours upon hours at night when we should be home spending time with family, trying to figure out, well, what did I have going on during the day? What do I need to do? Did I leave anything pending? Utilizing AI to pretty much create those reminders for us, being able to answer calls for us, things like that to just make us more efficient so that we can be more present in our customers' lives and at home, which is very important to have that work-life balance.
Absolutely. So you talked about, at Florida Realtors Convention, and you're wearing them now. You have the Meta smart glasses, and you interviewed a bunch of realtors kind of on the floor, so that was a lot of fun. And so in your business, you literally show people houses through your own eyes. So walk us through how that works in real time and how these glasses and that technology really helped you.
So I gotta say, the AI technology, especially in wearables, right? Wearable technology has just evolved so much over the past couple of years. And I obviously, as you mentioned, have the Meta glasses on. I don't want my wife to hear this, but I actually have about 15 pairs of different AI glasses already. Hopefully she won't, be watching this anytime soon till after the fact. But I do use them, quite frankly, a lot because, as you said, it's quite literal that I am showing properties, especially for my international clients and clients that are not here locally that can't be present for those showings. It's actually not just a gimmick, but really helpful. Being able to go ahead, command my glasses to start video streaming. And the way you would do that is because Meta, for example, we use that as an example, because there are various brands out there that have great technology, but Meta being one of the larger players right now, they allow you to utilize any secondary apps that are owned through the Meta Corporation. So that entails, Facebook, Instagram, of course, WhatsApp, which is a very big one that the international community uses.
Right.
So it's really awesome because I'll give you an example. I have a client based out of Brazil, great investor friend of mine, been working together for about 18 years, and he typically buys about 5 or 6 properties from us a year. And it's amazing, since I've gotten these glasses, he's actually invested and purchased a pair for himself because being able to walk into the property, I go on WhatsApp, I video call him, and all I've got to do is double tap the side of my glasses. There's a little button right here at the top.
Okay.
I double tap that, and whatever I am seeing, he sees.
That's amazing.
Whatever I am saying, he hears. And it's awesome because I can walk in, he's seeing the real colors. He's seeing what's going on the property. And unlike, a lot of agents, they'll say, well, I can just create a video. And that's true. Yes, you can go in, take photos, and create a video, but whatever you're not having in that video, the customer's not going to know. And then it's going to create more time of you having to go back to the property because you send that video to your customer and they say, well, Carlos, you didn't show me inside the cabinets. Or I was curious, how deep does that closet go?
Yeah.
Or, the carpet, I noticed it looks like a Berber, but maybe it's not. Being able to be in real time and then being able to see what I am seeing allows them to say, well, Carlos, I noticed you can you open the cabinets for me?
Yeah.
No problem. Hey, I saw that unit is the shower. How does that look? How big is it? How deep is it? Being able to give them that depth. And not to mention being able to then, if they ask me a question that I might not know the answer to, being able to then command my glasses or the AI and say, hey, what type of flooring is this? And all I've got to do is look at the flooring. The Meta AI glasses will then snap a picture of said flooring and do a search live on the web and say, oh, that looks like it might be Saturnial marble.
Yeah.
And it'll give me at least an idea so that I can go back to my client and say, hey, I'm not 100% sure, but the AI is telling me that this does look like a Saturnial marble. And then I can then go ahead and say, let me get you, a real definite answer, but that's what it's looking like.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I don't own a pair of Meta or any AI glasses or whatever. I should get some though. I think I'm going to now.
And even then for translation services.
Yeah.
I mean, right now being able, a lot of the times we deal with a very large international community, especially in South Florida. Florida is a very international state. So being able to then communicate with people, sometimes I have clients come in and maybe they speak Portuguese. And while I do understand a little bit, being able to translate real time, and as they're speaking to me, I'm hearing in my ear what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I'm able to at least have a better aspect of communication. So it is just, it definitely does make me smarter and a little more efficient in the process.
Yeah, that's amazing. You also talked about the Claude AI recorder.
Yes.
It sounds like the kind of thing every agent wishes they had on chaotic days. So how are you using it in listing appointments and conferences, and what kind of summaries or insights does it generate that actually save you time?
Wow, so the Plot AI is phenomenal. There's a lot of note takers or AI note takers that are on the market right now. Plot is kind of one of the industry leaders at the moment. They have the Plot Note, and they also have the Plot that goes right behind your phone that also records your calls, which is pretty awesome. So I use it in a various different formats. So a lot of the times when I go into my listing appointments, right, I want to be present. I want to be able to give my client my undivided attention, but sometimes you get into conversations, you start talking about the kids, how life is going and everything else, and sometimes you might miss certain things that might be important to that customer. So I always go in, I ask them for permission, of course, because you want to let them know, hey, do you mind? I'm using a Plot Note, I'm using a Plot Pin. Do you mind if I record our conversation so that I can then go ahead and review what's important to you and be able to really address all of your concerns and in turn serve you much better? So that's one of the ways I use it all the time for listing appointments, because I've noticed that we'll get into conversations and then the AI will then transcribe after that conversation is over, and it'll highlight and pinpoint what might be important aspects of that conversation that I later need to revisit. And it's helped me many times where I've gone in and there's something that maybe throughout the conversation, okay, it seemed important, but then I realize in the transcription that, wow, this was something we touched on 4 or 5 times, and of course, the AI translator as well will then identify that, hey, this is a key point that's important to this customer. And something that as realtors, right, we might say, okay, we feel that's important, but then we think, oh, maybe it's not as much. When you're seeing that it's highlighted as a main point, it allows you to really touch on that. And that's something that's helped me, quite honestly, several times to be able to show my customer that not only am I present in the moment, but I am hearing what your concerns are, and I'm addressing them in real time.
Yeah, and that is important because you're not going to catch everything just by listening. You try to, but this gives you an actually accurate description of everything.
Absolutely, and not to mention, like, take our conference, for example. The amount of just amazing information that's shared at Florida Realtors Conference and Expos every single year. I mean, there's only so much that we as humans can really comprehend and store in our brains, right? After a while, me especially, I get squirrel syndrome. I'll be like paying attention to something and then all of a sudden squirrel and I'm over here. So being able to have my Plot AI recording allows me to then go back, decompress, and really see what I missed when those conversations were happening and be able to put that information to use.
Yeah. And I think, to some agents, AI just seems very overwhelming. It's just like, oh my gosh, one more thing I got to add. But you kind of adopt these very easily. So tell me, like, how do you figure out which ones are worth adopting and which ones are maybe shiny objects that can help people so they don't get overwhelmed?
Shiny object syndrome is a very real thing, and I think we all suffer for that, right? We all suffer from that because we see a lot of these amazing tools, and some tools may be beneficial for some practitioners and their business model where they might not be for us, right? So it is important to be able to identify that. One of the things that I ask myself all the time when I'm looking at a new tool, a new app, a new piece of equipment is, does this save me time and make me more efficient? Or is this going to add time and add a workload to my day? And that's the first thing I ask myself, because if the answer is, oh, this is going to add another 2 hours to your daytime, then maybe it's not the right tool for what I'm looking to accomplish. So that's the first thing I ask myself. And then from there, what I try to do is look at what part of my daily routine or what part of my task can this take off my plate, right? Because that's the biggest thing about AI. AI is only as beneficial as what it can solve for you. And that's, I think, the problem with a lot of practitioners is that they try to take on everything at once, and by doing that, they do complicate their lives, and it becomes very complicated. So what I always say is, look at what tasks are taking a lot of your time throughout the day and just find a solution so that you can take that off your plate so that you can spend more time doing what you do best, which is out there, getting listings, selling, helping represent your clients the right way, and not so much spending hours responding to emails or screening phone calls or maybe creating that marketing piece.
Yeah.
Because those are things that AI can, quite frankly, do very well for you, very efficiently, and free up all that time so that you can be effective in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you share a specific moment when AI kind of saved you from dropping the ball or made a client interaction dramatically better?
Oh my God, yes, so many times. I mean, follow-up, for example, follow-up emails. How many times do we save, we're doing something, we're getting ready to respond to an email, but we get pulled into a different direction, then we forget to follow up, right? Yeah. Follow-up is a huge thing. So having AI tools that remind you, hey, it'll drop, even in my emails, there'll be times where I'll be drafting an email and my AI will follow up and put a follow-up actual flag on my email and bring it to the top of my mailbox to remind me, hey, you need to follow up on this.
Yeah.
Same thing where there's been times where I've looked at my transcriptions, I'm looking for properties for a client, and being able to see what that big pain point was at the top of that list in the transcription that my AI gave me, and being able to say, oh, that's right, Mr. Singh does need to have, this particular room facing a certain direction because that's, religious, something that's religious and important to them, and being able to then convey that in what I'm sending them and not wasting their time, which shows them that I'm really taking consideration of what's important to them and not wasting them time with properties that just won't fit their needs. So that's actually helped me many times where I will kind of, to be honest, we're all human, right? We forget or we might mix up one search to the other, and being able to go back to that AI transcription that I got from my plot or that I got from, my pin or and be able to see that, okay, yes, they did need this, they do have a pet, they do have maybe ADA compliance that they need for maybe a family member that has a wheelchair, whatever it might be, and be able to address that in real time.
Yeah, that's amazing. So for agents who want to kind of start integrating AI but don't know where to start, what are the first 2 or 3 simple workflows or tools you'd recommend?
So I would say that the first thing you should focus on are simple tasks. Like I said before, things that are time consuming but that AI can function very well. But I say that with a caveat though. Remember that AI is only as good as the information you feed it.
Right.
So if you're using an AI tool and it doesn't understand your processes, it doesn't understand your policies and procedures, it doesn't understand what your ultimate goals are, it's not going to be able to accomplish tasks in an efficient way for you.
Right.
So first, I would say start small. Start with email follow-ups. Start with, right now we deal in an environment where, I don't know about you, but my phone is constantly blowing up with all these robocalls. Deal with an AI answering service that will then screen those calls for you. So instead of getting 40 robocalls a day, maybe now you're only getting 2 that get through the AI. That'll free up a lot of time. Go to maybe an AI follow-up system that'll help generate basic emails where you can give it a foundation of, these are my policies, these are my procedures, this is my schedule.
Yeah.
It'll allow the AI to then schedule appointments for you. It'll look at your calendar and see, are you free, are you not? And be able to take that time off of your plate. So I would start small with tasks like that are easily, and then I would go into a little bit more in-depth tasks. Like maybe now you have a, virtual twin that'll then be able to take virtual calls and be able to do, your marketing and all that. And then you will want to create workflows. Because I see people trying to jump deep into the workflow, and the problem is that if you don't have the basics set up, if you don't have a good foundation, you're going to overwhelm yourself trying to create a workflow.
Yeah.
So it's really just starting small. I tell people all the time, don't bite more than you can chew.
Yeah.
Same thing when we talk social media.
Yep.
Don't take on every platform. Try to start small, start with things that you can easily put together, and then work your way up. Because once you build a good foundation, it's so much easier to keep incorporating and broaching out that spoken wheel concept of different tools and different AI systems that can help just make you that much more efficient.
Okay. I want to leave those watching with maybe a list of your 5 favorite AI tools.
Oh, that's tough. That's
Talked about
tough.
Claude and Meta, maybe some others.
Yeah, so I mean, it really depends because everybody has different, what they enjoy, right? I mean, you have Sora that does some amazing video content right now. You have obviously ChatGPT, which we all know is the contested champion. Everybody seems to go that route. I feel like everybody uses ChatGPT synonymous with AI nowadays.
Yes.
But you have Gemini. Even AI right now, you have it built into our Teslas. So now you have Grok doing amazing things as well. It really depends on what the task is that I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Because even with my phone now, even Apple has built in some amazing AI tools that they've built into the iOS system that are now really predicting what you need to do before you even go into your phone to do it. So honestly, I would just say kind of do a little research, see what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and go from there. But I would tell people, honestly, ChatGPT is always a great place to start.
Yeah.
Microsoft has Copilot, which is also doing phenomenal things. Grok is another one that, again, is doing phenomenal things. But I would say look into the paid versions.
Yeah.
Because as practitioners, we want to make sure we're safeguarding our data.
Absolutely.
And if you're using the free versions, they're using that data to then educate that model.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're using tools that you're paying for so that you can secure that data that you're using. And then one thing I tell people all the time is understand that AI in general can be very beneficial, but it could also be very dangerous if you don't use it correctly.
Yeah.
So just know that when you're doing something, make sure that you're moving in the right direction and make sure that the information you're putting in is accurate, and always, always, always verify before you use whatever AI spits out, because a lot of the times, if you're not paying attention, you could be putting out information that's not accurate entirely.
Yeah.
So.
And even with the paid versions, you have to choose not to
Yes,
share
not
your
to share.
data as
Absolutely.
well. So yeah.
Yes.
Well, Carlos, thanks so much for all the great AI tips. We
Tracy,
really
it's
appreciate it.
always, always a pleasure.
Yes, and stay tuned for Scott Arvin, a realtor with Matchmaker Realty, who's going to talk about turning renters into buyers on the next Florida Realtors live stream momentarily. Welcome back to Florida Realtors live stream. I'm your host, Tracy Velt, editor of Florida Realtor Magazine, and also the host of Housing Wire's Real Trending podcast for real estate leaders. Today, I am welcoming Scott Arvin to my interview. He's a realtor at Matchmaker Realty, and we're going to talk about turning rentals or renters into buyers. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you've built a reputation in Gainesville for turning rental inquiries into long-term clients. I know in the industry, sometimes people feel like renters aren't worth the trouble of going after.
Yep.
So what convinced you that they weren't really a distraction and actually a pipeline?
I think a lot of people, like you just said, it's the long-term value of it that they don't see. And the way I look at it is they are long-term values. They are people that are looking for property. Yes, it's not for sale right now, but it's something that you can put them in your database instead of going after them in Zillow and all the different other advertising sites that you can go after. They've already contacted you. If you take the time and show them the energy and the love like you would as a customer, they're gonna love you when they're ready to buy. They've already been told no a bunch of other times when they called on other properties saying, hey, can I see this? And they're like, oh, we don't show rentals.
Yeah.
So once you get them and say, yeah, I'll show it to them, they're like a gasp of fresh air going, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Why are you doing it? And then you kind of give them your elevator speech of why you do it and why you're building that relationship and why you're building that contact, so that when you do put them in your database, later on down the road, they're like, oh, why is he still contacting me? It's because they know that I'm doing it for long-term business.
Yeah. And what does that long-term contact look like? Like, how are you contacting them?
So I put them in my CRM, so they get contacted on a regular basis from me. So they'll get at the beginning, it'll be like, hey, how did your move-in go in?
Yeah.
Hey, did you get everything situated? Is there anything you need? I know you're new to the community. Is there anything that you need? Please let me know. I still want to be their resource, even though I'm their property manager or a property person that showed it, and I didn't sell them a property. I still want them to be my resource. I want to be their resource, on the property. So I want them to contact me. So that first month, I'm following up with them quite a bit. And then after that, they're getting a monthly email. And then when I know their lease is coming up, about 3 to 4 months before it is, I'm sending them a few more. Hey, I know your lease is coming up. Don't know if you're renewing. Don't know if you want to go look for another rental. Do you need help looking for a buy? So it's always making those contacts.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important. I think it's important for any agents, whether you're working with renters or to get that referral and repeat business, keep in touch.
You do, and a lot of people look at it as, it's not glamorous, you're not getting as paid as much as what you do as a sale,
right.
But that could lead to it. Or it could lead to their coworker saying, hey, call my realtor, he showed me, properties for rent when no one else would. He'll show you even a house for sale. So it's a pipeline that keeps giving as long as you're nurturing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of agents treat rental leads as kind of one and done, and so you talked a little bit about, being the resource. Let's get a little deeper into that, and maybe tell me some stories of some people that you've worked with and what you did to kind of encourage that relationship and eventually lead to a sale.
So I'll give you like one of my prime examples. I showed a guy a bunch of rentals. He called, again, like I was saying earlier, like he called a few other people no one would show. He called and I said, yeah, I'll show you, no problem, let's go. Showed him a bunch of rentals. Well, that guy was the head of the HR department for the hospital.
Okay.
I put him in the rentals and, and I showed him the same courtesy I do everything else. He put me in contact not just with him, but all the new hires that were getting in that were nurses and everything that they were doing. Yeah. He put me in contact with them. So not only did I get the sale from him eventually, which he did buy, but I took care of his customers that he was hiring, that he sat there and goes, man, if you did good for them, you're gonna do good for me. So I ended up selling him that. It's just, you look at everything not as just as one deal. You look at it as if you treat them, you don't know who they know.
Yeah.
You don't know what they do. Once you get them in the car and you start talking to them, then they see that you're genuine. It's not just their business. You'll get all that business from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you set that up as far as your CRM is concerned? Do you use any specific AI? Is it like a set up system that you have?
Like, what do you mean, like how I go?
Contacting people.
Like for them to get to me?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So like a lot of it is, and I tell agents in all different offices, tell your admin up front, hey, if somebody calls on a rental, I'll show rentals, send it to them. Not just me, as other agents, I tell other people to do this all the time too, is like, there's a lot of people that call offices, they just cold call and they say, hey, can you show rentals?
Yeah.
Tell your people, hey, I'll be the one who shows rental, call me, shoot me a text, I'll go pick them up, I'll show them, I'll make contact with them. So I do that, a lot of it, and now it's gotten into that I advertise with some of the other companies, and I just say, hey, look, if you have anybody, you guys don't want to show rentals, send them to me. I'll show the rentals for you.
Yeah.
And it's gotten out there because a lot of people don't like showing the rentals.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's a lot harder now with finding the rentals online. A lot of people keep them offline, so you got to do a lot more digging.
Yeah, absolutely. So what signals do you watch for that tell you a renter is getting close to being buyer ready other than just when their lease is up?
The questions they start asking. So if you do stay in contact with them, they'll send you things like, hey, who's a lender? Or, hey, what side of town is a good one for a school zone? And then it opens those doors where you can start asking a lot more of the questions.
Yeah.
And that's when you start digging a little bit more like, hey, why are you asking this? Are you looking for a house to buy? Are you trying to find a lender to help consolidate debt? Different questions on a lot of them.
How do you get through to them that not only do you do rentals, but you do sales too? Like, how does that conversation come up so they don't just think of you to contact for rentals, but when they're ready to buy too?
So that's in that elevator speech in that first 30 seconds, because a lot of them, like I said, once you get them and they're like, why are you showing us rentals? And everybody else said no.
Yeah.
Is it because you don't get paid? And I'm like, no, it's not as glamorous as selling the house. And then I tell them, I'm pretty point blank with them. I say, look, I'm not going to get paid a lot on this, but it's not that. It's building a relationship with you. I'd rather spend my advertising and marketing dollars on you than trying to go get somebody that I've never met. Now you've been in my car, we have a connection.
Yeah.
You're going to use me on the long run. And I hopefully eventually that you do like my services, that you'll call me back to buy a house or list a house or sell a house.
Yeah. So we talked about tracking renters in your CRM so you don't lose touch. Are there any kind of reminders or automations that make it easier?
Yeah, so it dings me on a regular thing. So it lets me, I'm a very good note taker when I'm in with cars. I'm very, adhere to what they're saying. So I'll constantly take notes on their phone number and they're contacting me like, hey, they have a dog. Hey, their birthday's coming up. Oh, they're going out of town for an anniversary. And I'll say, okay, it's March. Okay, that's their anniversary. And I try to make contact with them, say, hey, happy anniversary. I know it's coming up. Or so I'm always trying to find a way to connect to also have that connection with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the missing link to a lot of real estate success, to be honest with you, is just that follow-up, that consistent reminders to, to reach out, just setting that up in a system. Like, what CRM do you use?
So it depends on, so I have a couple, because now I also own a property management company, so I also have, now it goes into a system called Appfolio, but I also was using everything from QuickBooks, just a quick little reminder, to my Microsoft Outlook, which was sending me reminders. So it just depends on where they're at, and which you could start as simple as just putting reminders in your phone. Your phone is a very good CRM just by doing that. When it rings, it pops up. I can say, oh my gosh, that's so-and-so before I even answer the phone. It gives me a cliff note of them before I answer the phone, because once you meet so many different people, it's hard to remember exactly all their names, what they do, and so that's a good thing on your phone. I would start there mostly.
Okay. And then do you partner with any property managers or landlords to create that steady rental lead flow?
Yes, so the big thing that I've done now is, I've done this now for 23 years. When I first got in, a lot of people were like, oh, FSBOs, call FSBOs, have your pitch to go to FSBOs. That just wasn't me. Mine's more of a face-to-face connection. And so I started doing it and what was happening was I was getting the renters, I'd put them in, and other people were managing it. So then I ended up, after so many years, started building a property management company, and now I call it triple dipping, So now I put them in a rental, or I sell them a rental, I manage the rental, and then I sell the rental. So there's 3 different ways of contacts that avenues or streams of money coming in. But it's the biggest thing that I do is now with my business is I go to a lot of other sales offices that are not mine, other competitors, and I say, look, I know you guys don't do property management. I will not compete against your agents. You can send me all your rentals, and I will return those back to you when they go to sales. So I also cultivate, and I stay in contact with them for them, so that when they contact me and say, hey, I'm ready to sell, I say, hey, no, you need to go back with so-and-so. They're the ones who referred me. So that builds my pipeline, that I'm just not trying to take the whole pie. A sliver, it's fine, as long as you're building the avenues of different streams.
What do you find most challenging about having a property management company? I know a lot of brokers, when the market went down, wanted to start it, and by then it was a little late. You have to have had that coming for that consistent income. What do you find the most challenging?
I think the hardest part is now with the technology, it's instant gratification. COVID put a lot of that on there now, where it's a lot of people will go, my refrigerator's not working. And they expect to have a new refrigerator in that day. They don't understand that somebody has to go get it. They got to get delivered. It's not like, and I try to tell them, even as a homeowner, I'd like my refrigerator delivered on the same day, but it doesn't. And I think that is the hardest part, is that people have, demands have come up so high And then the burnout of property management. That is probably the other hard part with it, is that, you know, a lot of people don't like the constant of the picking.
Yeah.
And that drives you down a lot. Not a lot of people are calling you and saying, hey, you're doing a good job at property management. They're calling you and screaming at you because of, you know, their AC's not working.
Right,
So
absolutely.
you don't get a lot of good smiles from people.
Yeah. What's the greatest lesson you've learned in building the business?
Don't sweat the small stuff. I think even on the sales side, I think a lot of people, even with my owners that I manage for, you know, sometimes it costs me a little money to make the deal go through, or it might cost me a little money to turn that property back so I give them the white glove experience, but my name is on that. And I think a lot of people have lost that your name means something still in this business, and that's where you build your reputation. And if people understand that if you take care of your name and your word, the money and everything else will follow.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get so hung up that, oh my God, I got to pay, you know, $300 for a refrigerator. So pay the $300.
Right.
You know, on the long grand scheme of thing, it took the stress away from the buyer or the seller. You fixed it, it's handled. And then on the long run, they'll be like, wow, my realtor took care of all that for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people have lost it.
Yeah. Maybe you just need a warehouse with a bunch of refrigerators in it.
Refrigerators, if I knew how to install AC systems in the middle of the night with my eyes closed, that would make me completely happy, and know how to fix plumbing at all times.
There you go.
Those are the
That's-
three
that's
things that
it.
are on it. I'd be the best guy in the world.
Right. So Gainesville has a huge student and medical market.
Yeah.
So how do you tailor your rent to buyer pipeline when they're transient to the area?
So a lot of them, different conversations. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of it with students, you know, a lot of parents will come and say, hey, I want to rent this. My kid's coming up here for 4 years.
Yeah.
And once you show it to them on an Excel spreadsheet and you're confident, I think that's a big thing, is a lot of people aren't confident in what they're telling them. That once you explain to them, you say, hey, look, you're going to pay, you know, $1,400 per bedroom
Yeah.
to rent.
Yeah.
You know, why don't you buy this and rent out the other 3 rooms and your kid lives for free?
Yeah.
And they go, what do you mean? I'm like, even if you sell it for a little loss at the end of the 4 years, you're better off than the $1,400 a month you paid. And once they start realizing that, they're like, wow, yes, let's go look for something to buy. So I think you can convert people easily from the rental side to a buyer side if you have them in your car already showing them rentals.
Yeah.
Show them a couple rentals, but then show them the buying side.
Yeah.
And then they get the realization. Some people just come in. I have a lot of medical people that come in because now, you know, we're becoming a very big medical hub in Gainesville. And a lot of people are like, hey, I'm only here for a specialty training, and I'm only to be here for 2 years. Well, okay, then yes, you know, you're going to put them in a rental. But usually that hospital puts their hooks into them, and they usually stay. So I try to stay in contact with them too, even though they're telling you they're only to be here for 2 years.
Yeah.
And because you never know.
Yeah.
You know, or their colleagues. You know, the other thing is, you know, they work with a lot of people that are affluent people that have money that want to buy, that are coming here, that are staying.
Yeah.
So always stay in contact with them and treat them all the exact same, and it'll come back to you.
I do know how expensive student housing is.
Yes.
So, yes.
It's gotten more expensive now. We have
Yes.
more apartments being built in Gainesville than I've ever seen in the last 3 years. It's gotten very expensive and very competitive.
Yeah, when I went to college, you couldn't rent by the room.
Yeah, now it's all by the room.
I like that, though. I mean, that's a great idea.
It's good and bad.
Yeah.
It is. You don't know who your roommates are. So
Yeah.
sometimes that's where we get a lot of phone calls in the middle. They're like, how do we break a lease? And I'm like,
Yeah.
you need to hire somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't know that lease. You need to talk to somebody. But we
Yeah.
get a lot of those phone calls.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So if an agent listening today wants to implement a rental pipeline this week, what's the first step they should take?
So if they're to become, I think the hard part is a lot of people want to do property management and sales.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where, you know, if you're just going to start showing rentals and pass them off to a property manager or rent it, but just keep your database on there, you know, go talk to your brokerage. Say, hey, look, you know, I want to show all the rentals. Can we advertise on the different sites that we show rental properties?
Yeah.
Talk to other brokerages. A lot of brokerages do not want to show property or do it. Talk to them, say, look, I'll do it. You know, I'll show the rental so you don't have to lose anybody. Refer them my way. Build relationships with other realtors in your market. They'll send you the rentals, you know, and that's a pipeline that a lot of people don't do. I do highly recommend that if you are going to start doing property management and managing it, take a lot of classes, get a lot of education. Property management is a very I learn every single day. I don't know everything. I don't say I know everything. I try to learn it. We're gonna have a property management think tank that we're on it. I'd love for people to come in, listen to that, so they can hear about it, so you can ask more questions on property management. But if you're going to do it, talk to your broker, see if they will allow you to do property management, have a property management vision, but also talk to property management companies and say, hey, I'll show your rentals for you. They don't have the time to show a lot of their rentals. So if another realtor comes, yes, please show. I'll let you show rentals. We'll call you because
Yeah.
we're getting yanked all different ways, and there's not enough people to show all the different rentals at different times, especially during June, July, and August in a college town.
Yep.
So if I have another realtor, even from another company, and they're like, "Hey, I want to show," I'm like, "Here you go. I'll give you some."
Yeah.
Because they want to do it. I tell a lot of new agents that come in our office, "Hey, look, you have a lot of time. You don't have the money to do it. Here's your time. Go show these rentals, and you can build your pipeline." And I explain it to them, and there's a ha-ha moment once they get that first renter they put in that comes back and buys. Then they're like, "Okay, I'm hooked. Let's keep doing this."
Yeah. Well, Scott, thanks so much.
Thank you for having
joining
me.
Florida Realtors Live. And for those of you watching, we have our last live interview with Jennifer Wollmann. She is a broker associate with Avante Way Commercial, and she's going to talk all things sports, tourism, and healthcare and commercial real estate in Florida.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Florida Realtors live stream. This is our final interview. I hope you've enjoyed the day. I'm Tracy Velt, your host. I am the editor of Florida Realtor Magazine, and I also host HousingWire's Real Trending podcast for real estate leaders, agents, and team leaders. Today, our last interview is with Jennifer Wollmann. We saved the best for last. She is a commercial realtor, broker associate with Avante Way Commercial, and she is going to talk to us about all things FIFA, World Cup, and tourism, and how that's impacting the commercial real estate market right now. So welcome.
Thank you, thank you. It seems so appropriate considering UM's win last night. Sorry, I had to get that in.
I'm a hottie totty, so
Oh, sorry.
I'm not happy about that win, but I congratulations, because I know that they worked hard for it
Yes.
too. So, and it was a close game.
Yes,
a good
it was. It was a nail biter for sure.
So I am going to read these numbers because Visit Florida has an economic report on tourism, and they said we saw 157.6 million out-of-state visitors in 2024, which is when we have the latest numbers, and 134.9 billion in visitor spending. So how does this level of tourism demand really shape commercial investment patterns in Florida?
Sure, so let me just say too, because our 2025 numbers come out significantly later, but we're so early in the year, but the trend is looking good for 2025. It looks like we were increasing. The third quarter showed a slight uptick, even though we lost a lot of Canadian visitors in 2025. So that's a good trend, right?
Yeah.
That it looks like we're going up. And the reason that's so important for commercial and our markets is that it makes all of the commercial asset classes a little bit more resilient. It's a lot easier to underwrite if you're not focused only on population growth or job growth. And tourists spend money differently, obviously, than local consumers. So all of that comes into play for investors when they're underwriting a deal. And same thing with banks if they're lending.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we, obviously it contributes a lot to Florida's GSP. So what does the economic weight mean for long-term CRE planning, and what's hot right now?
So long-term CRE planning, and I always get kind of nervous using tourism dollars for long-term planning because tourists are fickle, right?
Yeah.
Or one major world event could change those tourist numbers pretty quickly. You think of COVID and 9/11 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the fact that tourism dollars can be used for specific projects related to the tourism industry, that helps significantly because it could help with infrastructure or convention centers and stuff like that, continues to increase the tourism to the area without taking away from the general funds of a municipality or the state.
Yeah, I know. It's there's like entertainment and recreation spending grew the fastest in 2024. And so how is that influencing demand for experiential retail and entertainment-driven developments?
So that's funny because experiential retail has been a buzzword for a long time, and now I think it's expanding beyond the individual retail location, and it's becoming more about the entire experience. So what is it like driving to the retail center or driving to the neighborhood? And I think because of the tourism strength in our state, there have been a lot of developments. I'm thinking of Miami Freedom Park is one. That's a huge development that's going on where Inter Miami is building their soccer stadium. They're tying it all into a whole experience. So instead of it just being a standalone stadium, they're building hotels, a lot of retail. There's another one going on, the Olympus in Orlando, I believe, is a similar, it's almost an entire community with hotels, retails, sports complex, as well as open park space. So that is an entire experience, right?
Yeah.
It's not just going to the hotel or to Disney or to whatever tourist destination. It's creating a whole overall experience. And I think that trend's going to continue to grow.
So what is the hottest, is it retail, is it office? What is the hottest commercial?
So retail continues to be performing extremely well in Florida. Hotels, believe it or not, even though RevPAR is down a bit because of the overall economy, we're building more hotels in this state than in any other state. And in some areas that you wouldn't necessarily think. So Melbourne has the highest percentage based on their current number of rooms. Under construction, Miami has something like 4,800 rooms under construction.
Wow.
And what we're seeing is a diversity of those hotel brands. So Aman is coming in for the first time and doing some developments in Miami. So all of that comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I want to talk about tourism-driven employment. It's influencing commercial leasing and absorption trends. How so?
So obviously anything that brings jobs into our area brings income into the area. So the tourism industry, the tourism workers, as they make money, they spend it in the community, at grocery stores, on entertainment venues of their own. And what we have been seeing is, due to the increase in luxury tourism, medical tourism, and sports tourism, those three areas tend to drive up the income wages of those specific sectors. And I think anything that, helps increase the wages of our tourism employees is a very good thing.
So what would medical tourism be?
So it's interesting. So Miami is like the capital for like plastic surgery, cancer, and orthopedics for South America. So they actually have packages where you can come, stay. They provide the airfare, the hotel, the doctor's visits, and everything else. Lake Nona is huge for medical tourism as well, especially with all of their research and biotech.
Yeah.
And then Tampa is known kind of as a recovery area. So for older people who are recovering from orthopedic surgery or something like that, there's a whole industry that's popping up around there. And what's interesting about that is that a lot of retail uses and older different types of buildings are being used for medical space. We're also seeing an interesting trend where some hospitals or educational educational institutions are buying multifamily for their patients to stay for longer periods of time.
So what about data centers in Florida? Do we have a big influx of that?
So we do have a handful of data centers. I'm definitely not an expert on data centers. I do feel like it's a little bit of a trend and a bubble. I know we need it for AI, but I tend to shy away from things that pop up so fast and explode so fast. My big concern with data centers has more to do with the demand for electricity and water and how that affects affordability for the rest of the users of electric and water in the state.
Definitely. Well, I know Miami's got the FIFA World Cup coming.
Yes.
So we're talking sports tourism as well. What kind of opportunities do you see for commercial real estate practitioners, being that they're coming? And is that in other parts of the state can expect some overflow from that as well?
Yes, I think they're expecting about 10% more international travels to cities overall that have games. And some of the bigger draws are England, Brazil, Portugal, Argentina. And I think Miami has at least two matches, one with Portugal and one with Brazil, and then a couple more. And we're actually the host city for the bronze playoffs. So there's a lot of logistics involved with that, and people are moving from all sorts of moving players and visitors and everything from all different parts. And people who come to visit aren't just going to go. They might go to one match, but then they're going to want to travel throughout the state. And I think that you are going to see people coming to Orlando or going to Tampa or going down to the Florida Keys just to add to that experience if they go to one match.
So what can a commercial real estate practitioner do today to really capitalize on, the FIFA Cup coming?
I think it's a little late to capitalize on that just because a lot of that work has already been done. The logistics centers have been leased. FIFA leased a big office space down in Coral Gables last year, or maybe even the year before that. I think it was last year, might have been
Yeah.
the end of 2024. So a lot of that's already been done.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the interest in sports tourism and in FIFA, remember, it's not just FIFA. We
Right.
have Formula One. We've got we've got PGA tours, and sports tourism is huge. And what's growing even faster than those types of venues like the PGA and the different tennis tournaments that we have throughout the state is sports tourism aimed at kids. So you have things like Nick Belleteri over on the west coast of Florida, Homestead, just approved a huge spending, a remodel renovation with a private group for a mixed-use campus for soccer, baseball, and I think there was one other sport down there.
Okay.
And so bringing those kids in, and it's going to be like almost like a boarding situation. But when families come to visit, they're going to stay in hotels, they're going to shop at restaurants, they're going to buy stuff for their kids at the local shops to put in the dorms, whatever it is. So all of those things feed across the board. Mostly in retail, obviously, but also in hotel.
Yeah.
And then the bigger events like PGA and Formula One and obviously FIFA, then there's a lot of logistics involved there. So needing the outdoor storage space, the industrial outdoor storage space, or actually warehouse space to move the products back and forth.
So where do you see the most opportunity in commercial real estate moving forward? Is it all three sectors, which is like tourism, medical, and healthcare, and then sports, or is one? Do you see a better opportunity than another?
So I'm really interested in this integration and kind of blurring of lines. So before, industrial was industrial, it was warehouses.
Yeah.
Well, now industrial sometimes is restaurant space, right? And retail space before used to be retail space. And now a lot of it is medical or wellness space. And I'm seeing a huge, huge emphasis on anything wellness. So whether it's medical, urgent care, physical therapy, massages, facials, anything that's related to wellness is really huge, really big. As people age, they want to stay healthy, so they get the work done, they put in the work in sports centers and gyms and yoga, et cetera. So we're still seeing huge demand for that.
Yeah.
And then also we're seeing a lot for the entertainment experience. So fun zones and places where you can go and have activities for all sorts of different age groups, not just ball pits for the little kids, but something that's a little bit more integrated. So I think, to me, that's really interesting because that's experiential real estate, but it's not a fad, right? Like I don't see it being something that you might get bored with after a while. Like how many times can you go to, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to get in trouble, but how many times can you go to, to such and such a thing and have a new experience, right? So, but with the wellness, it's more a lifestyle. And I think anything that's related to lifestyle, especially now, and in Florida where we're able to enjoy everything all year round, that's a big play.
Yeah, I think this stuff is fascinating. So thank you, Jennifer, for coming on the live stream today and sharing all of this with us. And for those of you watching, this is our final live stream interview, but we hope you enjoyed them and can go back to YouTube and check them out. Thanks so much.
And thanks so much.